With 2.0 rapidly approaching and the excitement building in the community day by day, it's been a great time for theory crafting what's going to happen in the future of Wuthering Waves, being in regards to the cast of the upcoming Resonators, Tacit Discords, or even Renacita itself. Today, it's time to theorize the potential identity of the upcoming Sentinel, its fables, its history, and its origins in our world's mythology, along with my reasons for believing why I think this is the case, its connection to Renacita, and the city's real-world inspiration. We're also going to discuss how it could possibly impact the themes of Wuthering Waves and potentially expose us to further deities within Solaris and the wider pantheon of gods in the game. I did speak on my conceptual speculation concerning the Tacit Discords of Renacita and why they differ from the ones we know, how they can speak, their potential origin, and the reasons for their creation. In short, we know that the Fraxidus wish to bring about the true lament by absorbing Tacits into humans to push human evolution forward and obtain their goals. My theory is, could Renacita have been the origin for their belief system, but instead of humans absorbing Tacit Discords, humans were combined with Tacits in such a manner that the resonance of the people became echoes within the Tacit Discords themselves, potentially being used on people on the verge of death or for whatever other reason. I'm bringing this up again because it does relate and connect to my theory on an overarching theme in 2.0. But first, let's discuss the Sentinel at hand. With the initial drip marketing for 2.0, we got images of the new batch of Resonators, weapons and equipment, and attached to all these images was the sigil or the logo for Raguna and Renacita. In this image, we can see what appears to be a horned creature with the head of a horse and its body circling around what appears to be some kind of beacon or lighthouse. Its apparent tail seems to be peeking out of the waves lashing around the base of the structure. Now it makes sense for it to be a lighthouse or a beacon since Raguna is a port city and safely bringing ships to harbour is imperative for the operation of day-to-day business. So let's discuss what the creature could be and my reasoning as to why. But quickly before I do, I want to mention some people within the community have stated the possibility of the Sentinel being a Longma, fabled creature of Chinese mythology often referred to as a dragon horse. It symbolises a harmonious blend of strength, grace and wisdom, and is described as a winged horse with dragon scales and the head of a dragon, and often with a long mane or tail, which is clear to see some similarities in the Longma and the image we have seen, but the creature we have been privy to does seem to have the head of a horse and not that of a dragon. Also, from most information I can find, the Longma doesn't appear to have a unicorn-like horn, although this doesn't mean it's not what inspired the next Sentinel. Others have also included the Qilin and the Kelpie into the conversation, although I don't believe it to be either of these creatures for various reasons. Since the Qilin doesn't really fit the description, once again having the head of a dragon, but this time sporting antlers to boot. The Kelpie, although a shape-shifting creature that does take the form of a black horse, but it is malevolent and lures its victims to ride its back, then drowning them in bodies of water or devouring on their flesh. The Kelpie is also known to take the shape of a human, but always retains its aquatic nature. Although I am discounting all three from being the Sentinel in this video, it is still possible that individually or as an amalgamation they inspired Kuro in some form. Now let's discuss what I believe to be the next Sentinel, its origin and how its creator could link us to some potential chthonic tones along with some other factors. Now if we look to the image of the sigil and take into account where Renacita is based on, it leads us to take a look into Greek mythology, since Venetian mythos itself is inspired by Roman, Etruscan and Greek fables, the former two heavily inspired by the latter. And this takes us to the hippocamp or hippocampus, a famous creature in Greek mythology that is a hybrid of a horse and a fish. It is typically depicted as having the upper body of a horse, complete with a horse's head, mane and hooves, while the lower body is a fish tail with scales, similar to that of a sea creature or a sea serpent, adorning monuments such as a Trevi fountain and depicted in the epic, the Iliad. Homer describes Poseidon, god of horses, earthquakes and the sea, driving a chariot drawn by brazen-hoofed horses over the sea's surface. And Apollonius of Rhodes describes a horse of Poseidon emerging from the sea and galloping across the Libyan sands. This compares to the specifically two-hoofed hippocampi of Gaius Valerius Flaccus in his Argonautica. Orion, when grasping his father's reins, heaves the sea with the snorting of his two-hoofed horses. If we look to Venice, said to be the basis for Renacita, the hippocamp is heavily connected to the city, being used commonly on gondolas that serve the city's canals, said to protect the gondola, its driver, and their passengers, Venetian Renaissance art often depicted Neptune, the Roman counterpart for Poseidon, and his hippocamp steeds in their work. Poseidon was said to have created the hippocampi from the swell of the sea. It symbolises the union of land and water, drawing on Poseidon's mastery of the ocean and his ability to shape the natural world. The hippocamp was likely created to serve as a majestic steed in Poseidon's chariot, embodying both strength and grace and reflecting the god's connection to both earth and the sea. Now, although in my opinion the hippocampus is more like the image of the potential Sentinel than the others we have discussed, they do not possess unicorn horns, but this, like the others, does not mean it's not the inspiration for the next Sentinel. Now, I did mention my reoccurring theme earlier on in the video in relation to Poseidon and the Tacit discords and the potential chthonic tones being a part of the upcoming patch. Chthonic literally meaning underworld. Let me explain. The Tacits and their potential origin have a dark undertone, possibly relating to death and the inevitable underworld. Also, with Poseidon being the creator of the hippocampi, this is another connecting factor with the god actually being worshipped in some parts of Greece in the Mycenaean period as a god of the underworld or lord of the underworld, with the title Annex, which translates to leader or chief. Now, if we look to Zany, one of the new resonators, we can see she has goat-like horns and a forked demon or devil-like tail. Again, chthonic links. While this is more likely a mutation, it's more the underlying theme of the underworld running through Renacita. If we also take a moment to check out Rochia, we know she is accompanied by Pero, a ghostly-like apparition that pounces from her lockbox she sits atop of. Again, this theme of death and the underworld. Are we potentially likely to see some darker themes in Renacita relating to mortality and the next realm of existence and potentially the underworld itself? Now, a lot of what I'm saying is speculative, of course, but this is what theory crafting is all about. We look at what we see and attempt to find the connection either through the real world or mythos. Whether fact or fiction, I do enjoy doing this sort of thing. And if you guys do too, be sure to like the video and I will continue to do more of this kind of content. Let me know your thoughts also on the next Sentinel. What do you think it is and its potential real world connection? I would love to know down below. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Thanks very much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Ta-ra.